Hey everyone, thanks for joining us here today at Book Blather. If you're new here, I'm Dave, this is Olive, and we talk about the books that we've read or acquired recently, books of all types, to help spread the joy of reading. So I'm curious to see what the sound is like today, because we've been filming our Garbogus videos outside, but we did film a somewhat recent one in here where we usually film after we had taken the rug out. It's amazing how certain things affect the sound in a room of these videos. So I noticed that the sound totally sounded different in that video, and it was like there was an echo that's not normally there. It wasn't so great. So we got a new rug now, and it's a little smaller, but it's so there's more floor area, but it's fluffier. So I'm curious to see how that affects the sound. We'll see. So today we have a book haul for you. We mentioned before that we had a couple book hauls coming. Normally, every year, I've talked about this before, every July we go to a massive book fair here. I believe it's like the biggest book fair in New England. And I always come home with a whole ton of books. Same thing happened this year. Huge amount of books. Maybe going to have to split that into two videos, actually. We'll see, because I got so much this time. But that's not actually the haul that we're doing today. Today, I realize we've had a number. Usually, when we go to one of these places, we get a group of books and we do a haul. But we've also had books come in piecemeal, like one at a time, over the last few months. And I realized I had a whole pile of books that I hadn't shown you guys yet at this point. So we figured we'd do a haul just on that. And some of them is some vintage stuff that we specifically sought out. Some of it is some new releases, and some of it's just a couple random things that I don't really know that much about that we grabbed when we saw them out for one reason or another. So we'll jump right into it. We'll show you these. So first we got a couple vintage things. We picked up this City at World's End by Edmond Hamilton. And we picked this up. This is an old one. We picked this up because Michael K. Vaughan mentioned it at his channel. Looks like this came out of early 60s. And this is basically about there's a town or whatever, a group of people that basically there's some kind of explosion, nuclear explosion, I think, and they get catapulted like a million years into the future, something. And I love stories like that. Now we like sci-fi and we like futuristic science fiction, but we really like stories where you're catapulted like into the not just the future, so it's futuristic, but like the way future, where just like the basics of like the planet and humanity are like fundamentally different. Like H.G. Wells' The Time Machine, Stephen Baxter's Evolution, Baxter's Time Ships. We loved those kind of books. So that's why we heard Michael talk about this, and we definitely were interested in it. So we sought that one out. A similar thing happened with this. This is a century of science fiction. So this is a collection of short stories, also published in the early 60s, I believe, edited by Damon Knight. There's a bunch of great authors in here. Edmond Hamilton, who I just mentioned, Arthur C. Clarke, Jules Verne, Alfred Bester, Frank Herbert, Mark Twain. I mean, there's tons of good ones here. I'll show you the back. See all the people that are there, if you can see that. But we picked this up because we heard Sean D. Standfast. He did a video talking about the origins of parallel worlds fiction, right? Where you have a world where it's an alternate Earth, or parallel universes, basically. And so we also love those kind of stories. Like we used to be really into the show Sliders, where the friends traveled from one Earth to another and everyone was different. So according to Sean, one of the first parallel world stories was this story called Another World by D.H. Rosny. D.H. Rosny? Yeah. Or did I get that in reverse? D.H. Rosny. And I think Sean said it was published in like 1895, but he believed, I think he wasn't sure, but he believed like the first English appearance of the story was in the 60s in this anthology. So we were really curious to see like one of the first alternate Earth stories is, especially from over 100 years ago. So that's why we picked this up. We're really curious curious to see what that's like. Okay, the next one this is a relatively recent book. This came out in 2021. This is The Brain Drips Yellow by Bern Moor. And we picked up this book because, so my birthday was just a few days after Pax, our fellow booktuber Pax Panic, had passed away. And a mutual friend of ours, Mr. Morningstar, sent us an Amazon gift card for our birthday and said to buy a book because Pax would have wanted us to buy a book. So I said, okay. And so I thought about it. And I'm like, what's a book that Pax would have wanted us to buy? So I was thinking about it for a little bit, and I realized shortly before Pax passed away, this is one of the books that she talked about a lot. She loved this one. So and once I thought of it, I was like, okay, perfect. That's the book I got to get. So this is about a guy that he's kind of not like living in reality. He thinks he has a great marriage and family and is successful at his job. But the reality is he's estranged from his wife, doesn't have a great relationship with his daughter. He's kind of like he's ridiculed at work, and so he ends up having this descent into madness. And it sounds like a surreal story. He meets a sadistic dwarf, magician turned priest, and a suave demonic entity. And so the question is, in his descent into madness, is he really encountering all these things, or is it just because he's going crazy? And so apparently it's pretty good, and Pax really loved it. So that's why we got that one. Okay. Then we got two that we don't know much about, and hopefully you guys can help us out with this. This is one that we picked up just by itself. We were in a used bookstore, and like I said, usually we get multiple ones when we're in a used bookstore, but we just only got one that day, so it didn't justify a haul. And this is Sundial by Catriona Ward. And this is a book, honestly, that I wanted just because of the cover. I mean, the cover is so cool. Hopefully I didn't cover it up when I showed it. And this was a recent book, 2022. This is actually an art copy that I found in the bookstore. And so this, I don't know much about it. It's Catriona Ward did that. What's it called? The House on Needless Street, or I think I got that right. But if not, it's similar to that, which was a pretty popular book a couple of years ago that a lot of people liked. And so this is one that she put out after that. It's not as well known. And I think it did get some accolades, but also I saw a number of videos that people didn't get on with it so well. And so I know very little about it, just what's on the jacket here, which is that there's a mother and the daughter, and they both are engaging in weird activities. Like the mother notices her daughter starts like digging up animal bones and talking to imaginary friends, but the daughter notices that the mother is like digging holes in the backyard at night or something. And so there's a weird relationship between the two of them, and I think they don't really trust each other. And so, and I mean, it's a horror, that's all I know about it. So let us know if you've read it and if it's worth reading. Another one that I know even less about is this. This is A Peculiar Peril by Jeff Vandermeer. Vandermeer, he writes some weird fiction. He wrote the Southern Reach trilogy, which they turned that first book, Annihilation, into a movie. And so I had never heard of this book until I saw this again, just by itself in the used bookstore. And so I just figured, I know he'd written some weird fiction, and this sounded interesting. It's a thick one. This is also an art copy. But this is supposedly this is an alternate Earth story. This guy's grandfather passes away, and so he inherits the mansion. And when they go there, was it a book? I don't remember. But there was something there that opens this sort of portal to an alternate Earth where it's, there's, I don't know, I think that there's magic, and it's, there's like talking animals and vegetables, and it's totally different kind of Earth, and there's a secret society and something. That's all I know. That's all from the jacket. So again, if you've read this or know much about it and you know whether it's worth reading, let us know. We're going to be cautious about going into this because, as everybody knows, we're slow readers, and this one's a big boy. So we'll see. Then we also have a couple of new releases that were sent to us for review. And so we've had to start turning away some of the review requests because we're far behind and we already have a number that we haven't gotten to that we're way overdue with. So we're being very selective. It's only things that sound really cool and letting people know maybe a little while before we get to it. So there are a couple of those. And so one is this one. The Never-Ending End of the World by Anne Christy. So Anne Christy has written a number of books, I think including some Silo books. Silo, is, this is a trilogy, Wool, Shift, and Dust. It's a science fiction trilogy that we read Wool back before it was popular. This was independently. Hugh Howey was the author of that, and he originally published that independently. Now it's huge, and there's a hit TV show called Silo on Apple TV. But anyway, that's spawned some other books, and she wrote a few of those, Silo 49 books. The Silo 49 series. And anyway, so Anne Christy has read a bunch of books, but this one just came out in August of 2023, and this sounds really cool. This is about a girl so Manhattan became in like a time loop. So, and I think it's irregular time period. Sometimes it's like a couple minutes, sometimes it's many hours, but it just keeps reliving the same time over and over again. And there's a lot of people caught in this loop. This girl isn't, and so she's a survivor, and so she tries to like stay out of the way of all these loopers. And she's been doing this for 8 years, I think. And so it sounds really cool. It reminded me a little bit of a graphic novel called Oblivion, which is, I think that one was Philadelphia, but it was some city or part of a city that just all of a sudden one day just got sucked out and put into, that was different. It got sucked out and transferred to like an alternate world, like in an alternate universe. And there's the guy that goes back and forth. And so it reminded me a little bit of that, just you have a city that's just like pulled out. Here it's that one was in space, this one's, or in universes, this one is in time. So anyway, this sounded really neat. We are hoping to read this in September. We got a couple buddy reads going for September, so not sure how busy it'll get, but we're planning to read this in September. Then we also received this one for review, Linden Falls by Joshua Hershey. And so this is 2022 book, and by Archway Publishing, and this is not, so this is basically Christian YA, and apparently has some biblical undertones with it, so or messages. And so this would normally not be up our alley, but I think I mentioned on this channel before. So I was raised Christian, but I'm no longer religious. But I am fascinated by religious stuff, specifically. So I'm fascinated by churches, fascinated by Christian mythology. And so this one actually sounded really cool, even though the theme is normally not up my alley. This is about a girl that she lives in sort of a fantastical world, but she discovers a book, and the book ends up sucking her into this other world that's got angels and demons, and she's got this powerful book, and I think she's supposed to be a witch or something, and she ends up having a destiny about like saving her people, and these light angels are going to show along the way. So I don't know, look pretty good. I mean, look at the cover, right? You can tell that's going to be pretty cool. So so that's why we took this one, even though it's not normally up our alley. And we are looking forward to trying it out. It's not that long. So then we also have this one, which I actually got months ago. I've had this one a while, and I feel really bad that we haven't reviewed this yet. But this sounds a very unique book. This is called A Wizard's Dream. And I am definitely going to mispronounce his name, but this is, the author is Hrvoje Butkovic. Hopefully that's pretty close. I think it is. So this came out in 2022. And I took this because even the author's email to me was very well written, and he really sold this. So it's basically meant to be a pretty. He said he changed his writing style a little bit for this book, and it's meant to be very poetic, very philosophical book, and it's basically it's about this woman that I guess is she's facing some challenges from the underworld, and so she's on her quest, but it's apparently like everything in the environment is personified, all the aspects of nature and everything. So it seems like a very, very different kind of fantastical fantasy is what I was going to say, but it sounded very unique. So I don't know too much about it other than that, but so anyway, so that's why we got this one, and we are going to read it. Like I said, we're just pretty far behind. Okay, I should pronounce, in case anybody wants to look this up, I should spell out the name. The author's name is Hrvoje. It's Hrvoje, and Butkovic. It's Butkovic, A Wizard's Dream. Okay, and then we also, for Garbogus, we had read, for our first time, we tried out Doc Savage, which we had a lot of fun with. And basically, this is a character. There's over 100 books now. This is Pulp Fiction about a guy that's almost a superhero, this action hero. And we had this, not a super well written book, but we had a lot of fun with it. It was just a quick, fun action adventure. So we wanted to read more of his stuff. So that's what we did. We got a number when we got the next few in the series. So we got Doc Savage, the Thousand-Headed Man. That's the second book. We got the third book, Meteor Menace. We got the fourth book, which is Doc Savage, The Polar Treasure. We got the fifth book, which is Doc Savage, Brand of the Werewolf. And we also got the sixth book, The Lost Oasis. the Lost Oasis. So we figured we'd at least get through 5 more of these. They were just so fun and so quick. You can see they are not very thick books. So that's why we got those. We figured we'd get through at least 5 more. And I'm just realizing now that I did that wrong. Those are actually 4, 5, 6, and 7. I guess I did not. Oh, no. No, sorry. I got that right. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Look at that. That's weird. So these are indeed books 2. You can see in the upper right-hand corner, like it's 2. But on the side, it's 4. So I'm actually going to have to look into this. So I'm guessing, so there must have been 2. I don't know if there's 2 other books that were number 1 and 2, some prequel books or something. I'm going to have to look into that. Can't believe I'm just noticing that now. Anyway, and then we got 2 other. When we bought the first Doc Savage book, there was just 2 others that came bundled. We bought it on eBay. Cheapest way to get it was it just came with 2 other books. So it was this number 87, The Spotted Men. And number 95, The Red Spider. I think this, oh yeah. I knew there was something special about this. The newly discovered Doc Savage adventure. So this one, I guess, did not. This was uncovered later or something. So anyway, so those are all the Doc Savage books we have to read. So that's everything. That was quite a pile of all the books that we got just piecemeal along the way. So that's gonna do it for today. Like I said, we'll be tackling next either in 1 or 2 videos. Well, not next. We got Garbogus video to do next, but soon we'll be doing 1 or 2 videos about that massive book haul we did at that humongous book fair. So If you, again, as always, if you've read these books or you have any thoughts on them or you're thinking about reading them and you want a buddy read one, let us know in the comments. And if you don't want to leave anything substantive, you can always leave Olive a puppy emoji. She always likes to see those. Right, Olive? So, as always, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you very soon. But in the meantime, take care of yourselves and each other, and we'll see you next time.